Seeing none. Next up on 2713 will be Lisa Peterson, Denise Crooks, Damien Lima. Do we have Lisa Peterson? Lila Rose. Again, just a reminder for our witnesses, you have a 3-minute time limit, and if you don't get to say everything you want to, you can submit written testimony. We'll begin first with Lisa Peterson. Welcome to the Committee on Judiciary. You may begin. Is it? Oh, okay. So Denise Crooks. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Hi, my name's Denise Crooks. I live in Pawtucket, and I'm here on behalf of LGBTQ Action Rhode Island. LGBTQ Action Rhode Island is an advocacy organization dedicated to security and equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Rhode Islanders. We thank Senator Mendez and Culkin for recognizing the need for all Rhode Islanders to seek justice for crimes committed against them. I'm here in support of S2713. This bill affirms the dignity and rights of sex workers, and we encourage its swift passage. We know that the criminalization of sex work disproportionately impacts poor women, women of color, and transgender women. The criminalization of sex work exposes individuals to increased violence, health risks, and barriers to housing and employment. For too many LGBTQ people, transphobia and homophobia continue to lead to family rejection, homelessness, and poverty. The U.S. National Trans Survey reports that over 3/4 of trans people have faced discrimination in the workplace, pushing many into the informal economy, which includes sex work. Criminalizing a critical survival option for some only compounds these harms. Criminalizing sex work impedes efforts to protect individuals from trafficking, exploitation, and abuse by making it dangerous for victims to speak out. Laws criminalizing sex work inflict harm on sex workers, our communities, and our state. The repeal of these laws is long overdue. This bill enhances safety by creating conditions for people who engage in sex work to report crimes against them or others without fear of prosecution. Decriminalizing sex work is an important step in providing sex workers across access to the justice system and in protecting the health and safety of all marginalized Rhode Islanders. LGBTQ Action Rhode Island urges this committee to vote to pass S2713 out of committee.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions or comments from committee members? Seeing none, is it Damien Lima?
Yes.
Yes, you may proceed with your testimony.
Okay. Thank you so much, dear Chair Coyne. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today, and thank you, Senator Culkin and Mendez, for introducing this bill. First, I want to start with saying that people who sexually exploit children should bear the consequences of their abuse. People who exploit others, no matter what they do for money or for a living or for labor, should bear the consequences of exploiting others' labor. To this, I want to add that consenting adults engaging in any kind of consensual sexual behavior should not be prosecuted. No matter who, nobody should be forced to engage in any sexual activity that they don't want to. My next question, and this is something that has been mentioned here a few times, is I want to ask, why is this a crime if somebody is engaging with their own volition? And that I bring the point of a little bit of this libertarian streak on me, and also saying that by having a blanket statement that no woman would ever try to do this, I feel like that's speaking for a lot of people. Now, I'm coming here as somebody who's part of the LGBT community, but also somebody who has worked as an HIV and STI sexual health counselor. And I can tell you this from the people I have talked to, including many of them are my friends. Abuse is common, mostly because sex workers are not seen as human or deserving of justice. Thus, the right to exist is not expected. Abuse from police is also common because of sexual favors, read in between the lines rape, are exchanged to avoid arrest. We live in a world where sex workers are not seen as part of our society. One day, while I was at a conference, I responded to a friend's cries for help. What happened was that John had become belligerent, and I was in the room next to hers. Saving her from a violent situation meant that I was aiding her. And depending on the prosecutor, I could have been charged with something, and because we crossed state lines together as friends, I could have been charged. Now, this was a conference for people who were part of the LGBT community. And the person that I'm talking about was an undocumented transgender sex worker. There was no way in the world that she was going to call the police if anything were to happen to her. And I've heard many stories like this. This brings another point. I know Rhode Island has protections against discrimination against transgender people in the workplace. This doesn't mean that they're enforced. Nor does it acknowledge that the bar to prove discrimination is very high and often unreachable. For me and other stigmatized populations, this is one of the few viable options for survival, and I say this as a part of the transgender community. This brings another point. I have met people who actually want to do sex work. And as an HIV and sexual counselor, I want to acknowledge that although for some it's a matter of survival, for others it's actually something that they want to do. I know for most people, the way sex is seen in our society, this might seem irrational, this might not be like it's real, but it's actually real. And I can tell you, none of those people will be here today.
And
to
that is your
testify.
time. That is your time. Thank you. Any questions or comments for this witness? Seeing none, is it Lila?
Yes.
Yes, you may proceed with your testimony.
Thank you for hearing my testimony. You have my statement, which I was going to read, but after hearing what I heard earlier, I'm just going to go off of some notes I took. First, I want to extend incredible compassion and thanks and truly heartfelt appreciation for everyone who's spoken before us, especially the survivors who came to talk about their experiences. That is incredibly profound and difficult to do. And in listening to what they were saying, I'm here speaking for this bill. There is only one point of difference that we have. I think everyone here agrees that sex workers, prostitutes, victims of trafficking should be decriminalized. There should be no crime there. And the point of difference is whether or not associates should also be criminalized. And I think it is incredibly important that we are able to distinguish. I think I'm here as possibly the only person who is choosing this line of work. I am disabled. I receive the maximum amount of state support that I am entitled to. This is not sufficient for me to survive on. I do primarily legal sex work, but this is one of the only areas of income that is accessible to me with my limitations. And I know a huge number of other people who also fall in that category. These are both full-service sex workers and also online and content creators. This industry is enormous. I have not reported assault to the police because I felt that if anything, I would be laughed out. At best, they might hear me, and then, that's the last I would hear of that. And at worst, I would be assaulted, like many, many, many stories I've heard from other sex workers when going to the police. I think the fact that none of the trafficking cases, we've heard were discovered through prostitution-related enforcement or stings, really speaks to the fact that prostitution enforcement is not addressing the issue of trafficking. The fact that there have only been 17 cases of trafficking, I believe was the thing, in this state, either speaks to the fact that this isn't as big of an issue, or the fact that there are many of these cases and currently they are not being addressed by our legislation.
Thank you, and that's your time.
Yes.
Any questions or comments from committee members? Okay, thank you all for your testimony. I have gone through the sheet of all those who've signed up on 2713. Did I miss anybody? Randall, did you want to, on 2713?
Sorry, I was on 2716, the previous bill.
We've already gone through that. Yes. Did you want 2713?
I didn't want the current bill, I want the previous bill, so I think I missed that. So
Okay, very good. With that said, I'll entertain a motion to hold 2713. So moved by Senator Oyer, seconded by Senator Lombardi. May I have a roll call vote?
Chair Coyne.
Yes.
Senator Archambault.
Yes.
Senator Raptakis.
Yes.
Senator Burke.
Yes.
Senator Oyer.
Yes.
Senator Lombardi.
Yes.
Senator Quezada.
Yes.
Senator Rogers.
Yes.
Senator De La Cruz. Unanimous.
And 2713 is held for further study.